Welcome to part two of ancient Egyptian fashion. We will pick up where we left off with accessories. Now, in future lectures, accessories will be more of expanded category. But here in old ancient Egypt, we have one plate, and that is this: footwear, sandals, made of leather or papyrus, or often not lower classes, you wearing bare feet. Here's an interesting thing: though footwear was not worn outdoors, but carried in hand from place to place, then placed on the feet once the destination was reached, which makes an odd kind of sense if you think about it. Okay, jewelry. Gold was prized by all the Egyptians. Also, precious or semi-precious stone, turquoise, lapis lazuli, which were both put into gold settings. Both sexes wore this wide collar. We don't really have a name for it, but it's a very distinctive characteristic of Egyptian fashion there. A thin gold and then inlaid with precious stones. Also, a pectoral, which is basically a necklace, an amulet on a necklace. Usually, you can see here we have, I think, a falcon representing Ra, the sun god, and then, of course, the scarab beetle. Form of beads called faience were worn. Faience is a sort of sand glazing that initially you can see has a blue-green glaze after firing, but there is another version that has this sort of rust red. So very faience, very popular. Ladies of noble and royal lineage would wear several strands of this at once. Armlets, anklets, bracelets worked in gold, you can see. The Hyksos invaders introduced earrings. So invaders is bad, but it's nice of them to come up with some new accessories. So just before the New Kingdom, in a period of chaos, when they came in, they brought them some earrings here. So women mostly wore them, but men did too. Here we can see she's got the honeyed beeswax or perfumed beeswax there, ready to go. Cosmetics. Not cosmetics a lot applied to the entire face, but we did use some red ochre dirt or mud to color the lips. Both sexes lined the eyes to honor the god Horus. So, and that too is also a very distinctive and characteristic Egyptian trait. Of course, you probably know this, the eyeliner, very heavy to mimic the eye of Horus, was green and eventually became black and was coal, as you know, so coal colored, which is basically, it's a mixture of this black powdery mineral called galena. You put in some sulfur and you mix it all in animal fat to make a paste, to make a sort of stage makeup, really, and then apply it to the face liberally. Not to the face, to the eyes, I'm sorry. One distinctive accessory is the crook and flail. This is carried by kings and queens, well, pharaohs and pharaohs, we should say, throughout the history of the empire, which symbolizes the two main economies of the region, the crook representing sheep and the flail representing wheat production. Okay. Quick specialty costumes. Priests usually wore a shinty or calaceris. When they were presiding over religious ceremony, they would wear this jaguar skin draped over, or excuse me, leopard skin, not a jaguar. I should know the difference. The head falling with a belt and the tail hanging to the ground. These were sacred skins. Papyrus, look there, little papyrus. Sandals, treated with great care, could not wear wool or leather. It's sacrilegious. And priests shaved or plucked all hair from their body. All hair. So they were completely hairless. Enough said about that. Military, this will be more expanded, of course, in later, more martial societies, but it was hot. If you're a marching army in the sun, in the desert, if you wear armor, well, they don't know how to make armor in the first place, but if they did, you would have soldiers passing out probably. So they just wore their shinties. A little bit of loincloth action here, you can see. That's it. These soldiers, you can see, have these shields. Some protection from that little loin pendant. Wooden shield. It's very simple craft, as you can see here. And then a spear or a short war club to thump your enemies with. And that's basically it. So pretty bloody warfare if there's no protection, but you know, it's in the desert. And of course, if they were Hyksos invaders, they would have earrings. Once again, just mentioning, officers wore that corselet that would show It was leather with bone or metal sewn in for protections. And then, of course, the linen corselet. Here's the blue war helmet. Lecter and corset. And loin pendant. And a very nice shinty. So there you go. And barefoot. Everybody was barefoot. Lower classes didn't wear very much at all. Some of them do. Here's some musicians. So they have that robe, right? The calasiris robe, the collar, and the beeswax. So here's a simple couple. You can see the man is wearing a starched apron, shinty, some faience, a pectoral. The woman has a calasiris on. You can see there's tiny little straps between the breasts. And that's pretty much it. And they didn't really shave their hair because they couldn't afford wigs that much. So, but here you see this is a fisherman and his wife. Quick examples. What we'll do with these sections is we'll just give some examples from the period and some how they were really supposed to be portrayed and how they are portrayed today or throughout history. Of course, the number one example is Cleopatra, who was the last native. Well, she wasn't really native. She was part Egyptian, or excuse me, she was part Syrian probably and part Greek, but she was the last pharaoh. We don't really know what we look like. There's been some accounts she was a beauty, but there are others that she just had incredible charm. This is a coin from her realm, as you can see, and that's supposed to be a likeness of Cleopatra. This is a later terracotta statue. So this may be more like it. If not, she's not the raging beauty that everybody says she is. But again, we just don't know. 19th century, she starts getting eroticized, romanticized. Here we see a picture from 1897, a very romantic picture of her testing poisons on prisoners. You can see slouching. She's got her vulture headgear on. She's got a calasiris with one band between breasts. Her papyrus, you know, the leopard there is a status symbol. So just kind of a romanticized, sexually provocative sort of. She becomes this sort of sensual, mysterious woman of desire. Here's another in the same period. She's not wearing any clothes, so what the hell? But putting it for the Uraeus headset. There you can see another bare-breasted calasiris. Over time, how she's portrayed becomes more and more romanticized and away from reality. Here we see an engraving from George Bernard Shaw's Caesar and Cleopatra, 1887, where, you know, I don't know, just sort of this weird belly dancer costume. Great actress Sarah Bernhardt in Antony and Cleopatra in 1891, an overwrought gilded epic, La Belle Époque piece that is quite colorful, but may not have a lot to do, obviously, with ancient Greek. In the 20th century, Constance Collier, a very renowned actress, the Meryl Streep at the turn of the century, has some nod to historical accuracy. Was the vulture headdress there? Gold beads, maybe not, and probably not a pearl strapped flapper dress. But you know, it's the 20th century. What are you gonna do? All right, Theda Bara did a scandalous version on film. This was a film in 1917, a silent film. And as you can see, pre-censorship codes, it was pretty racy. There's not a lot here that's Egyptian, but, you know, pulling off the sensual thing. Theda Bara is the original vamp. That's where the term came from, is describing Theda Bara, the vamp girl. You can see why she gets her name. Claudette Colbert did a version in 1934, a film that is an Art Deco dream, a very little nod to Egyptian style, but the set and the costumes are just amazing Art Deco treatments. Vivian Leigh did a version, 1945. Elizabeth Taylor, of course, in the most famous bomb of all time there. This is a Hammamet. Oops, headdress right here. So pretty good. There's a lot of cleavage going on right here. That's too much cleavage, but, you know, for the Egyptians. And they didn't really worry about that. They didn't have any sort of bust support. But, you know, it's Elizabeth Taylor. What are you going to do? Nice kohl on the eyes. Very strange. Leonora Varela did a mini-series at the time, was well regarded. Good pleating on her calasiris. Francis de la Tour did a deconstructed stage version of Antony and Cleopatra. See, very deconstructed. And of course, other works, Aida, written in the 19th century. The opera used a lot. And of course, there's the Aida. I don't have a picture of it, but of course, the Aida musical. I put the Mummy Returns here because I really like their shinties. There's not a lot of great, there's some things that are anachronistic, but some of the things, it's got a nice shinty back here, headdresses, and these two, the pleating on these is really good. No brassieres. We don't see any bras for, 2,000 years. So. And these Japanese ninja weapons, sais, I think they're called, SAI, sword catchers. Probably didn't have those in here. This is a stream miniseries, Tut. Not really sure why I put it in here. It's okay. And of course, Gods of Egypt, which was a film, I think, in 2000 something. Very gold, but he's got a nice little loin pendant and spin dot. So maybe the gold's a little out, but the helmet is nice. This kind of royal hake / dress shinty is probably pretty accurate, except for this flowery thing in the middle here. It's pretty good. Halter tops, no. This kind of bikini-like or bra top halter top. That bras aren't going to be around until the 1890s. So when you see that, you got to take that with a grain of salt. This is interesting to end it. John Galliano did an entire haute couture collection for the House of Dior in spring 2004. You can see sort of walk like an Egyptian motif there. You know, with a huge, deconstructing the huge apron, and of course, the beard. So a few pictures of those. Very, very outlandish, very, very couture, haute couture. Just, but not a bad interpretation. You can see Anubis, and they all tilted forward like that. That's sort of tilting to mirror the look of some of the images in pictographs in pyramids.